another Tea Talks. I am your host, Jes'ka Washington. I want to sit here and say that I am actually encouraged and excited to have this conversation. And we don't know where it's going to go because we want it to be open, authentic, and truthful. But we're going to really talk to some of our brilliant black male educators here in Dubai.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Who's she talking about?
Us.
Oh, cool.
So that's the next episode. This episode, we got some hooligans. No, just playing. But before we get any further and really dig into what we're going to talk about, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ashley Brown, and originally from Vicksburg, Mississippi, and been here in Dubai for almost 2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Heath Bailey from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been in Dubai since 2013. 2014.
2014. You got years in the game.
Years.
Yeah.
Real years.
And then I will say that Mr. Heath Bailey has also graced us in other Tea Talks.
Yeah.
So his face should be getting kind of familiar at this point. Ashley was in our very important Tea Talks where we were just talking about getting to know Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
But this time I wanted to kind of change the conversation around a little bit. And we're going to be very relevant to there's a tide changing.
Yeah.
A change is coming. And the voices that we hear in America are actually your voices. You're just not on the home front to be right there with them screaming out as loud. You're here. The killing of blacks, and I'm going to say black men and black women, by the police. And then if we dig deeper, because the police to me is one entity, it's just the unjust killing of black bodies. And I think the overall reaching presence of I matter, I exist, my breath is as valuable as yours, see me. And we're going to have that conversation about being here and being an educator. When I say, how are you feeling, brother? How are you feeling?
Ashley?
Well, okay.
I need time to think.
You're not alone on that. So I think initially feeling the same pain that we felt in the past,
Okay.
but above that, feeling confusion and frustration right now. Because although I'm here and I'm seeing it online, I still kind of would like to be a part of it and protest in some shape or form in the States. And then also looking at my nephews, who one is in his early 30s, and then I have others who are, sprinkled in the 20s. And my concern for them is, how are they dealing with all of this? How are they processing this information? Because for them, I have one of them who is educated, very successful, and then I have a couple who do not have higher education, have education, but they don't have higher education. And so their walk and their path is very different from my other nephew. And they are more likely to fall in the spectrum of you're the choice for the day.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you understand exactly what I mean by you are the chosen one for the day, just purely on your look
And location.
just on look and location. And it's very concerning for them, and I'm not a parent, but when I think about the love that I have for my nephews, you still have that fear of, hope you come home. And that's a true sadness that is an actual concern of ours as human beings.
Yeah. You use the word fear, and I thought it was confusion for me, but it's fear. I have a 26-year-old son, and I have a ton of nephews, right, and nieces. And last summer, with 2019, I went home for 40 days. It was the first time going home with my family in 5 years.
Wow.
Okay, well, 4 years, I think. I went home for the Million Man March. But anyway, the second day I was there, I was delivering a book that I co-authored to a friend in the neighborhood that I built a house in, and I was the assistant principal at the local school. And I was pulled over, my old neighborhood that I used to pay mega taxes. And the police officer said, I can't believe you went through that red light. Now, I have a car full of people would have told me that, and I know I didn't, but I sat there thinking that I did and pondering confusion. Like, did I really just go through that light? I gave her my ID, and she let me go in maybe 10 minutes. That could escalate though, right? We've seen it escalate on camera. So being pulled over or just being in those spaces and seeing it from, what, 10,000 miles away, we're seeing stuff escalate into death. And it just makes me rewind on all the police interactions that I've had. Is close as last summer with me, you know, but I just told my son, stay away from everybody. I don't even know what that means.
Right.
But I said, stay away from everybody. Stay in the house. COVID-19, stay away from everybody. Don't go out there. Don't go near anyone. That's how I feel. That's fear.
And you know, it's so, we've been told and we teach other black people, here's how you behave, here's what you do. But when we look at today's time period, and none of that matters.
It doesn't.
None of that will protect you. The fact that my pants are not sagging, the fact that I have an education, the fact that I walk straight, whatever, I'm not slumped over. None of that protects anybody of any of the black culture.
I want to break into that piece, and I also want to break into, I do think that we have to look at conversations again, also on different generational gaps. Because I know I'm 40, and I'm going to sit here and say, maybe for your 36 and higher, maybe 34, you break into something that we were taught. I remember in the 80s what our sitcoms were like. I remember YSB, I remember Teen Summit. And it was this training of, if you go this route, you will have freedom. And I go back and look at it to say that I do think that we were given, here is the formula for you to be treated equal. Here is the formula for you to attain housing. This is the formula for you to have safety for your family.
Say no to drugs.
And like you do this, don't get anybody get pregnant, all these things.
Right.
And then here it is now that we're on the other side of it, and you just said it. We're now on the other side where we followed your checklist. We did it. It's kind of the same game that happened with voting. We're not going to let you vote until you can answer these questions. Okay, so somebody turned around and they followed that checklist. And then we get at the end of the checklist and you still are not equal.
You move the line again.
You keep moving the line. So
yeah, I'm not sure if it was ever a line. You know?
Is that the reality that we're facing now? That once again you created parameters?
Yeah.
And now that once again we have jumped and exceeded those parameters, the line gets moved again.
Right.
So I asked this question because I see both of you guys are like, oh wow.
You know, it's just the reality of all of
Yeah.
it. It leaves you just in a state of shock when you come to acceptance more than anything. When you come to the fact that I have to accept that I'm not viewed as an equal by white America.
Yeah.
Although I know what I think of myself, I know what I have accomplished, I know what my potential is, it still does not move me in the realm of you are an equal human. And that's a very, it's a very disheartening thing to accept that reality.
Yeah. You know, when I think about the brother in Georgia, Ahmaud Arbery, I'll say his name. When I just explained to you guys that I built a house in that area that I was pulled over, well, there were so many construction sites that I used to walk some days and run some days and see a new construction and walk into those and look, because I had a different model and they were building another model and I wanted to know where they putting their loft, where they putting their, that's me. When I saw him, the whole video, we don't need to go back, I was like, that's me. That's literally me. That could happen to any of us. You know, they didn't ask whether
daily
you went to
experiences.
college. Well, no, what I'm saying, they didn't ask what's your degree and did you do the right things. He was a black man.
Lady
That's
asked.
it.
Well, we're not going to get into that because I just feel like that was a hunting expedition, personally. But when we talk about those things, and I want to do this in a different take, is that while you feel these feelings here now, sitting in Dubai, do you still find yourself held back by some of the fears that you had before you were international?
Good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay.
I feel defenseless. You know, like I can't defend. I can't, like you said, I can't
Here?
be out there. No, over there. Like
Right.
being here.
What's happening? Being here.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying, say the question.
But I think you're saying what you're saying. You're telling me how you felt when you were there.
Yes.
And then once you decided to make the move here, are those feelings still there?
They weren't until recently.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. The fact that this area of the world, many people don't get it, right? Like you go to work and, you know, I just had someone say, how's America?
All of America.
Right.
But they're watching TV, you know, they're seeing what's going on. So the same feel, they're not feeling the same as we are. You know, we still have to go to work. We still have to process our lives when a lot is going on. So.
I think the way I understand the question is my feeling of being in America, did I bring that feeling here?
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
But I brought my same arrogant self to Dubai.
Okay.
I think very highly of myself and I project that wherever. So coming to Dubai, it was not a big shift for me to bring my natural self. It's just a part of me.
Okay.
So yeah, I came with the same arrogance, and it's a healthy arrogance. I use that word intentionally,
Okay.
but it's a healthy arrogance that I did bring with myself. Now, with the current event, I did go into I went into that confusion.
Right.
And it wasn't just a mental confusion. Like even now when I go out, I'm having to think, what do you now think of America? Because we have this big platform that America has been placed on with the social injustice. What is your thought?
Right.
And I'm having to think, are you judging me? But at the same time, I'm not letting it penetrate my inner self.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I am.
Okay, and I think it's still of a growing piece because I'll sit here and say, and I'm not a black man, but I noticed that there were things I would freeze up if a police car was behind me in America. You never know what that is. It's a gut feeling and it's scary, and I know nothing's illegal, but I don't know who's pulling me over. And then I noticed out here, I'll see a police car and freeze up, and then it slowly come. And so there's a part of it where it's like, is it PTSD? Where I go into certain situations because I've been so programmed already, and I don't want to say programmed, but you have to live and breathe a certain kind of way. And then when you move internationally, because what I will say is that the international opportunities from Americans are now buzzing. Everybody wants to leave. Is it better?
I could say it's safer.
Okay.
Safer.
It's safer. It's more risky though. There's a lot more better foundation in America.
Okay.
In regards to like employment and things like that.
So I want to type onto that. So you're saying that even though it's safety, there's a breathing place. There's a place where you can breathe. There's a place where you can exhale. Because you're me, you don't know, shoot, my girls know that waiting to exhale moment, but there's a place where there's a place
where what you connected to?
I connected it to that.
I did miss it.
You don't know. The Angela Bassett shout outs and all of that.
Shoot.
But the exhale, like there's a place where I can sit here for a little bit, I don't have to look behind my back.
Right.
And it's safety in that essence, and maybe even a little bit of peace in that essence, and to have breathing room and breathing space.
Yeah, I in the last let's say 7 months now, I was in Ghana, of course, living here in Ethiopia, right? And in both of those African countries, and we can do that here, is walk anywhere we want. And I was in Afrochella during the year of return, and I literally left early. I got fatigue. I'm old, right? I got fatigue. I left the concert early, and in order to get out of there and get past the traffic to get a taxi, I had to walk maybe 3 kilometers in Ghana at 11 o'clock at night. I didn't think of anything harmful to me, right? In America, in my own city, my head's on a swivel.
On a swivel.
You know?
I get that.
Yeah. And I'm holding on to my, making sure every 5 seconds that I got everything. So
even if you're empty on the street, you're still doing those
right,
things.
and there was, there was Ghanaians, and it was Afrochella, right? It was millions of people over there, and it was busy, and I was just comfortable.
Oh, wow.
It was the same way in Dubai, the same way in Ethiopia.
I can relate to that same thing, Going different places, it is not a concern of what you're speaking of, any type of violent act or anything like that. But one thing that I have noticed about being on this side of the earth, and I'm probably not going to word this correctly, But the concern is not, it is not that you are a black male. It's more so that you are not a Middle Easterner or an Arab. And so there is a little bit of discrimination with that I recognize.
Yeah, especially before you open your mouth. Once they find, oh, you're American.
Yes.
And there's a different, you know.
So I think that's an interesting piece, because I think that, number one, the conversation that we have to be conscientious about, and I do think that, and I can definitely say this wrong, I believe that our UK brothers and sisters are screaming as loud as we are. But when you're in America, you're not listening to them because we're so focused on that. I think that one of the things that's happened now with America is I'm starting to hear a lot more. There was a letter that went out to search associates that asked to remove the pictures on the resumes, because there is a blatant line of discrimination. If we're working to be this United Nations that we talked about, if we're working to do those things, we have to really recognize what it means. There's an issue, and I'm going to say his name wrong, but he does Netflix Patriot ad. One of my favorite songs, his name is Hassan
Minaj.
Yeah, Hassan Minaj, and I apologize for the name, but when he talked about the discrimination of dark Indians versus your light Indians, and why are all the people in Bollywood fair, I do think that it's a little bit eye-opening in what you just said too. There is a difference in treating people based upon your assumption of them on how they look.
And then passport.
And in your passport,
You know.
and what's happening are people are trying to constantly quantify their existence to being heard or seen or done or any kind of thing. Right. So I'm going to turn the tide a little bit in this question and conversation to that you guys are educators. Yeah. So your role as a black male educator, I am going to sit here and say it's anomaly. It is, you're not popular. You're not, we don't see many of you. Yeah, you know, it's like, we look at, and it's just, oh, you do that. And so what you're doing is you're standing in a space that is beautiful. And in that one space, you are the picture for children to see that they're not used to seeing. And I think it went around on the internet, when's the first time you had a black teacher? Yeah. And you're stopping that stereotype immediately in its face. As an educator,
we're carrying, you know, my 4 years in the lane, which is a lot more conservative and suburban, for lack of better words. We are carrying the stereotypes and dismantling some things about black Americans, males, in modeling. I was called Obama, you know, the first 2 years, you know, and or do you know Obama? Or you look like, you know, everything. Do you know? And then they would even say Jay-Z. You know, they would say like, do you know these people? Can you play basketball? Just last year I was asked,
can you rap?
Yeah, well.
Do the woe.
Yeah, yeah, I've done it too.
Yes, that's you. I refuse to do the woe for my students. I refuse to do the woe.
I didn't know what it was. They said do this, and I did it, and they were like, yeah.
No, I fight.
But yeah, I was asked, was I ever in a gang? You know, and then I had to stop right there and go in the classroom, and my brother was. You know, like I had to talk to them, and it's not cool. Like, and I told him he's incarcerated, you know, and all that stuff. But I had to like break it down because they think sometimes our culture, like, okay, you're a black American, so you must be able to rap, you know, or you must be a gang member, or you must be able to dance or something like that. But we're carrying a lot.
A lot of stereotypes.
Yeah, and we have to dismantle them as much as we can. Can't be preachy, but.
My experience is different.
Okay.
So when I came to Dubai, the placement of being one of the few blacks in a building was not a new experience to me.
Okay. My
last teaching experience, where I was for 7 years, I was in Texas in a predominantly white school district. District. Not school, school district. Okay. So when I walked into the building, I was one of 3 blacks.
Okay.
With I think at that time almost 200 staff members.
The only male?
No, there was a coach.
Oh, okay.
Black coach, football coach. Yes.
Always.
Yeah. Okay. So that experience was not an unfamiliar experience coming here to Dubai. And one of the shocking things in both locations, in America, working at that school, and then coming here, just the fascination of wanting to know about the reality of black men and just a black male. I had students who would come and ask me about different things about education. They would want to talk about, and that's here and there. They want to talk about education. They would want to talk about plans after high school. They want to talk about their life experiences. They want to talk about black culture. Always about black culture. And I can respect that. I am a black man.
And they're fascinated with it.
And you know, in the same turn, when it is a person who is not of my same race, they're asking me questions and I'm asking them the very same question about their culture. So I view it as a great learning opportunity, and for both of us, not just for that student who's asking me, but also for myself, because I take that opportunity to learn more about other cultures.
Yeah, they're getting, from you, they're getting stuff that's not in the curriculum, something that they'll never get, and then they're also getting the counter narrative of what they're seeing on TV.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and that was actually going to be in the next question, and I guess kind of in summing it up, is that I will say that I hope that when watching this, that people understand that I think moving outside to an international position gives you a different viewpoint. And what I recognize, and this is why I love Netflix, because the images of blackness have been controlled of what's over here. You'll see Love and Hip Hop. People have never seen an episode of Blackish. They don't even know it exists. Like it's when you look and see the shows that make it over versus all the shows that we honestly do have in the U.S. What makes it over are the characters, like the shows that don't show
stereotypes.
The stereotypes. Those are like, and what I have enjoyed with Netflix, and one reason why When They See Us to me became such a big deal is yes, When They See Us hurt us as Black Americans to watch. We lived it. But what you did not realize is that the children over here turned it on thinking it was just another movie. And watched and were appalled that this actually happened, and it happened in America, and you have to sit here and say yes. So it's exposing, I think, this myth of what people thought America was, what they think the black experience is. The fact that Netflix now has these South African dramas on, and being able to open up, because we are fighting these media stereotypes.
Yeah, they're also learning, and this is worldwide, that America's not black. You know, a lot of people think America, especially in the Obama era, is Obama, maybe Kevin Hart, maybe Dave Chappelle, maybe Jay-Z, maybe Beyonce. They don't realize that was the population 25%, 12%, something like that?
We're 13%.
13%? 13% of the population. Because of our culture and our influence around the world, many times they think America's black population is bigger than it really is.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I see.
Especially in Africa. African too. Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, and just bringing it in, because we're going to have to be closing. So I think the question is, that's coming off of that is, what would you like the stereotype to be? Now that we're here, now we're in a position where we can change the definition. What is it that you want people to see when they see you, or to see a black man, or to see us?
Living abroad, living outside.
Living. What do you want them to see?
Yeah, you know, just let me say this real quick. I don't know if I'm going to answer the question, but a thought came across my mind in regards to the first time I was ever called in America was here. Okay? In the States, I'm black, or I'm African American, or whatever. But I was never called an American. So when you get in a taxi, they said, "You American?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah. I never realized that. Yeah, I knew my passport, but was never called an American."
Oh wow.
So here, that was pretty refreshing, and it was kind of a lot of irony behind, you know, it hit me. What do I want them to see? Success. Somebody who's somewhat polished, you know what I mean? Someone who's positive, and maybe even spiritual. Not just, you know, the typical what they see on TV.
I think I would want the narrative to become our true reality. That we are intelligent people. We are resilient above everything. That we are loving people. And that we're big-hearted.
We are very big-hearted.
We're big-hearted, and we're very generous people.
We are.
Yeah.
You know, and to add to that, because I know the dab, and I know that dance, and I get the culture that you're looking at on TV. But we're not a monolith, like you said earlier, and we're not just that.
We're not just that.
Multifaceted.
Yes,
people.
yes.
Okay, so.
Well, I tell my kids, I said, I can do the whoa and I can do the no. But I want you to know, because I can sign a degree too, baby. There's things that we can do. And so thank you just for this wonderful conversation, and thank you for this wonderful moment. And I just hope that, and I think that's the time that's going on now. Listen to our words. Somebody said, we gave it to you in song lyrics. We gave it to you in art. We gave it to you in movies and poetry. We gave it to you, we gave you all of the words. You just never heard them. I hope you hear this. Thank you very much. It's been another Tea Talks.